near miss turns out to be a big win for Hailey Davidson. This is Transposition Sports. I'm Karleigh Chardonnay Webb. Your favorite Scottish golfer and mine, Hailey Davidson, did something pretty sweet this weekend. She was in the 2024 U.S. Women's Open Regional Qualifier at Bradenton Country Club, Florida. She put together a 70-73 weekend that earned the first alternate spot in case first and second of the tournament couldn't go. Davidson finished third in the tournament, just one shot off of an automatic qualifying spot to this year's U.S. Women's Open. But this is also a win for Davidson after what's been a rough 2024. She started the year at the top of the regional Next Tour standings until the Next Tour banned her and any transgender women from tour play earlier this year. Davidson, true to form, has kept grinding and working on her game the way she has for the last 2 years. And now she at least has a crack in the doorway and is looking for more. Another winner, not so much in sports, but somebody that we like here at Transposition Sports, Aaron Reed, the brain behind the Aaron in the Morning Substack, won a 2024 GLAAD Media Award over the weekend. It's no surprise, and it's pretty darn awesome. Reed, who's been a policy researcher turned journalist, has been at the forefront of keeping people up to date on the tsunami of anti-trans legislation over the last 4 years, and GLAAD gave her her flowers, and they were flowers well deserved. Why else do you think I subscribe to her Substack? And if you haven't subscribed to her Substack, you should. Roller derby rode to the rescue again on Long Island. A legal challenge initiated by the Long Island Roller Rebels roller derby team backed by the ACLU won in New York Supreme Court Friday. The court found the executive order written by Nassau County Executive Republican Bruce Blakeman back in February was, quote, beyond the scope of his authority, end of quote. The measure, believed to be the first within the United States, would have affected over 100 facilities, including parks, courts, ball fields across the country if enacted. It was also the second loss for Blakeman's executive order since he drafted it. A federal court diffused an effort to block New York Attorney General Letitia James from taking legal action against Nassau County on the matter in April. Across the pond in the UK, Lucy Clark, Football Association's first transgender referee in its history and the first football boss in FA history when she took over the women's team at Sutton United at the beginning of the year, has been a target of one of the arch transphobes on Turf Island, J.K. Rowling. Rowling put up a number of tweets over the weekend calling Clark, quote, a straight, white, middle-aged bloke, saying, quote, when I was young, all the football managers were straight, white, middle-aged blokes. It's so fantastic to see how much things have changed. And then Rowling, when she got called on it, doubled down, saying, quote, calling a man is not bullying or punching down. Cross-dressing straight men are currently one of the most pandered to demographics in existence, and women are under no obligation to applaud the people caricaturing us. Now, all I can say is, once again, this shows why J.K. Rowling is crass, and while people like Lucy Clark are class. Ms. Rowling, I'm going to talk to you directly right now. Lucy Clark has given to trans people in the UK and around the world more than she's taken. You're talking about a woman who started a radio station and started a support concern in the UK dedicated to trans folks. Trans Radio UK has been a lifeline for people that have suffered a barrage that make the legislative tsunami we've seen here in the United States look like a light drizzle. She's also given much more to her sport than she's taken. As an official and as a football boss for two teams. First, organizing Truck United FC, which is a team which basically gives an opportunity for trans people who never thought that they'd be able to play team to play for, colors the sport. I'm a supporter of Truck United FC from across the pond, and I'm proud to say so. And she's also given to her sport again as an official and as a football boss for Sutton United, and she's kept the Sutton United team above the relegation line. So, Ms. Rowling, you can say whatever you want about Lucy Clark, but Lucy Clark is more woman than you'd ever be. Hashtag just saying. Back here in the States and out in the Pacific Coast, there's a story brewing. There's a 10th grader in Portland, Oregon. Her name's Aiden Gallagher. Some of you may have heard her name, some have not. After this week, I have a feeling more of you will be hearing that name. The same way you heard some names 6 years ago. Remember Andrea Yearwood and Terry Miller? That story's coming back in a new form, in a new place. Gallagher is pretty fast. She runs the 200 meters and 400 meters at our Portland High School, and she has a shot at a state title in Class 6A in a state that's known for track and field. After all, Oregon is the home base of Nike, and it's also the home of Tracktown USA, Eugene, Oregon. In many ways, the ancestral home for this sport in this country. This week will be a tense time. And if the media coverage is any indication, this could get as sticky for Oregon as 2018 through 2020 was in Connecticut. Let's take a listen.
Some Republicans in the Oregon legislature are calling for immediate action in high school sports after a male student competed against girls in a track meet this weekend and finished second.
Now, whoa. First, Aiden Gallagher is a girl. Why is a hired news anchor, supposedly a journalism professional, misgendering her?
And after a teenager born biologically male competed in a high school girls track and field meet in Portland.
Biological males, that's not much better, kid. It makes you wonder, who are news directors picking to anchor these days? Oh, and it's not just in Oregon. Here's Sky News Australia. We know how bad they can be.
All these institutions who are happy to trash all those young girls' hopes and dreams as well as their basic human rights in order to entertain the delusions of one young man.
Effectively, as you said, Liz, it becomes legalised theft. Yeah. Because you're standing on the dais taking the trophy and that particular runner, and it was quite the winning margin.
Oh, well, wasn't it?
He won by a fair length.
And has himself acknowledged, I mean, he's previously talked about the transition that he wants to go through to become a girl, and says, you know, I'm going to get the hormone treatment, etc., because I'm starting to grow facial hair, acknowledging that puberty has begun, and what I want to do is stop the process of this puberty continuing. But because you've gone through puberty, you are already stronger, faster, musclier, etc.
What I think is happening is that people are being cowed into silence. And we often say, oh, if only the other women competing would just say, we say as one, we are not competing if a biological male is being included in this competition. That's easy to say, but they are still trying, even if it means I'm going to come second to this guy or third to this guy.
Hey, Kirsty Miller, I need you to go to Sky News over, if it's in Sydney, wherever, I need you to go tighten them up and teach them a thing or two. And, take Christine Late with you. As far as what will happen in Oregon this week, I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to Juniper Simonis, also known as Dr. Juniper Simonis, PhD. She's a biologist who's well-versed in these issues. She's also quite the athlete. She's been a part of 3 Women's Flat Track Derby Association World Championship teams. She also lives in Portland, and here's some of her views of what could happen this week.
The state of Oregon, while it has a very hippy-dippy, put a bird on it, sort of like liberal vibe that people get from it, the state is also incredibly conservative. And like every state, there's a balance. and the bills that get introduced in Oregon are as bad as the bills that get introduced basically anywhere else. They just right now aren't making it out of committee. But it honestly wouldn't take more than a couple seats changing in the state to get them out of committee and onto the floor. That doesn't seem like it would happen in the like current election cycle, but it could happen very easily in future election cycles, right? And so I think what's important to acknowledge in that is that this fight that is diffuse and grassroots against trans athletes is going on. There's an undercurrent of it right now everywhere, even in places like Oregon. And it's not just trans athletes, it's trans rights in general. Like there are bills getting introduced in Oregon every year that are like want to strip me of my basic human rights, right? And thankfully, again, they're not making it out of committee, but they could. And so I really want people to be aware of, and I think there are some good folks doing political reporting on this, but like the prevalence of these bills that are oh so close to making it to floor votes is really scary. And Oregon's in that boat. So as good as it is as a state, there are a lot of really vocal bad people when it comes to trans acceptance. And I fear a bit that this state championship track meet is going to be a focal point for a lot of that.
If you had a chance to talk to this young person, this young girl for 5 minutes before she's heading down to Eugene, before she's getting ready to race, what would you tell her?
Ooh, 5 minutes. Well,
or even if you get longer than that, what's one thing?
Yeah, no. I'm just like I'm trying to nugget this down, but like I think one of the things that I would want to listen more than I talk, to be honest. Like I want to be able to help young trans athletes, and I mean young in like age, but also young in like transition age. Like I want to help young trans athletes navigate being out and playing sports, but I don't know what that need looks like for somebody who's in 10th grade right now. And so what I would want to do in that time is like prompt answers, ask questions about like what are your areas that you feel like you need the most support or guidance in, that somebody who's not in your family, not in your school can give, right? Like, because there's some things that you need that like you might not be able to get from the people around you, and it might honestly be an ear, right? Like a shoulder. Like you have been holding in all of these things that you can't really talk to your parents about because they don't really get it. Like you can talk about it, but they don't really get it. You can, if you're in therapy, maybe your therapist kind of acts like they get it, but they really don't, right? Like there's a level of camaraderie. And like I have that already with a lot of trans athletes that I know, like you, right? Like that we are able to vent and share stories. And it might really be that a young trans athlete needs that vent, needs that opening. And I feel like to me, that's much more important than imparting wisdom, is like providing an opening for the young athlete to share what they need. There will be plenty of vocal supporters of this young athlete who's going to do amazing this weekend. And I really hope that those vocal supporters of her are really vocal in person, because the way that, for me, the way that I made it through moments like that was always the support of my teammates and my community. And so like really recognizing that support in real time is going to be important to counter the vitriol. Like I think everybody who's able to actually cheer needs to really bring their cheering A game. I recognize that like not Not everybody is allowed to cheer for athletes. Like somebody who might be on a governing body there might, not be allowed to support any particular athlete. But there are ways that you can show that support without like rah-rah support, right? Like actively talking to somebody, actively using their name and pronouns that should be used. You know what I mean? Like actively engaging in that is a way to show support that isn't like, I hope you win support, but is like, I hope you have a good time competing support.
Apparently tonight, a fun little story in sports that happened over the weekend. As you know, we at Transposition Sports have been covering the best of the Women's Football Alliance because some of my friends play in it. And there was a game in Manchester, New Hampshire on Saturday night between the visiting Connecticut Ambush and the hometown New Hampshire Rebellion. And it was during this game, in fact, early in the game, when there was a play, when a running back for the Ambush got the ball, took the handoff, went through the hole, and was met in the hole by the linebacker for the Rebellion. Pads clashed, and when the dust settled, it was a 3-yard gain, and the linebacker made the tackle. And afterwards, after they got out the pile, they gave each other a nod of acknowledgement and encouragement. You see, the running back for the Ambush and the linebacker for the Rebellion are both transgender women. And contrary to the belief of some, women's sports did not die at that moment. The WNBA still started their season. Caitlin Clark did not turn an ankle. Serena Williams did not break any of her rackets and say, I give up. The Paris Olympics will have a full complement of women's sports, and the world as we know it did not come to an end. The two people in that scenario, well, the ball carrier was this reporter. And the person who made the tackle is joining me here at Transposition Sports right now. Matilda Missy Mahoney, linebacker, defensive end of the New Hampshire Rebellion. Welcome to Transposition Sports. It's good to finally actually meet you, or at least get closer to it. We definitely have to do lunch at some point.
Yes, we have.
When did you realize that you weren't going to be the only transgender woman on the field that night?
I didn't know till when I hit you on that tackle. And then you came up to me. I was like, what's going on, sister? That was the biggest smile on my face.
So that's when you knew. That is wild. I'm going to have another like me on the field. This is going to be so cool. But at that tackle, at that moment, when I first run through the hole, I saw you. I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. What got you here as Matilda Missy Mahoney, and what led you to decide I want to play football and nothing's going to stop me from doing it?
I always wanted to play football when I was a kid. And today, one, you ask my father, he stopped me playing. He's like, you have lazy eye. You can't see these people coming to you. I'm afraid you're going to get hurt. And when we moved to Stoughton from Watertown, Mass, he goes, you know what? I'm going to try you playing Pop Warner. And I ended up playing on the same team with my older brother, Michael. He was 12 years old. I was 10. I lasted 3 days. Then, about last year, my teammate, Stacy from the Femmes, the Byron Femmes, in Boston Women's Flag Football League, said, hey, Missy, we got a team here looking for players. You want to join? I'm like, hell yeah. Like always.
So,
I'm gung-ho for every sport.
And then from there, rest is history, and it all led to a Saturday night. What did it mean for you to make that tackle at that moment?
At that moment, I took making a good play for my teammates, for my team, make my coaches proud, make my father proud, made everyone proud. I did this for the trans women out there who can't do it, who gets criticized saying being in women's sports. And honestly, we're women. We should be in women's sports. We don't have advantage on anybody. And when you came up to me on that field, I'm like, we made freaking history here. First two trans women playing against each other in a Saturday game for the WFA. And I fucking was like, yes.
I'm doing some checking on that. I was talking to Erica, and I was talking to Erica and Jacqueline about that, and we're all doing some checking line on that because it's got to be a first, or if it's a first, it hasn't happened often.
No,
That's for certain.
Honestly, like to gain a lot of respect from teams past 2 years, from Maine, from Connecticut, from New York. That's huge for me. That's a victory in a game. That hey, yeah, we lost as a team, but that was a victory yesterday on Saturday for trans women and trans rights.
What was it like just being in the team? And what was the moment when you realized that, no, you're our sister now. You're a part of this. You're one of us now.
Day one, I walked on that field. They welcomed me in as a teammate. They like, okay. And after that practice, Selena and the captains and the board members and the coaches were huddling at one in the driveway parking lot. Soon they were done, Selena came right up to my car and said, "Hey, I know we're gonna be a struggle. We're gonna figure out. I don't want you to be discouraged. I want you playing for us." And she goes, "It's gonna be a freaking beast, bud." And so now she calls me Stoop all the time. What's going on, Stoop? And she tells us, every single one of us, "I love you," and that's family right there.
In the article you did for the Ink Link, you had a lot to say about all the legislation that's going on. Some of it's been in New Hampshire.
It has.
What's your viewpoint on just this wave of discriminatory legislation that's come down the pipe against trans people where you live and elsewhere in the country?
I am not happy about it, but I'm lucky living in Massachusetts. We're a very supportive state. But ending up today, I'm going to be with my sisters and my brothers out there fighting for their rights. And I'm doing it right now on the field. We just finished practice. I'm fighting still.
Exit question now. What message do you want to give to, say, that person who could be looking at this or seeing this and thinking, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I have that kind of courage to do it, especially the trans youth out there who are being told, we don't think you should be able to play. What's your message to all of them?
You can play the sport. Sports doesn't see gender. It says people want to play the game they love. Don't give up. You always have a family out here. Teams like this will be happy to have you. New Hampshire Rebellion, the Connecticut Amberst will welcome you in as a team, a family.
I can tell you what, it was great. It was great seeing you out there. I mean, I made it a point to come up to you and say, hey, good job. Keep pounding, sis.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep pounding. I'll lay victory. Pray for us.